Welcome to Midweek Politics. I'm David Pakman, and it's the week of September 9th, 2009. 9909, Lewis. I guess the next time that will happen is not until September 9th of 3009, right?
Yeah, I guess not.
If my math is correct. And of course, it is the week of 9/11, and this marks the 8th anniversary of 9/11 and the 8th anniversary of where's bin Laden. And we're still looking for bin Laden. It's not completely clear where he is. Some say that how hard could it be to find if he needs that dialysis machine? You know, I don't know. We know we haven't found him. That's for sure. And we know that George W. Bush vowed to find him, and he vowed to smoke his friends out of their holes. And I don't know how many have been smoked out of their holes, but what we do know is he hasn't been found. I don't know. What's your ETA on when he will be found at this point?
He could have died 2 years ago.
And we wouldn't know. Well, some people have speculated that he may already have died, and we just wouldn't know, and he recorded a bunch of tapes. I don't really know, but I guess eventually we will know. How long could he really be dead without us knowing? It seems at the most a year. I don't know. I don't know that it could be really multiple years since he's died. I think we would know.
Well, you know, if it was just in some God knows where location in the mountains of Afghanistan.
Anything's possible.
Right.
It could go a while. Well, last week we launched, of course, Midweek Politics TV, and you can find our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/midweekpolitics, and I'm on it now here on our computer, and it's quite the channel. So the way we've done it is we just kind of split the show up into segments based on what we're talking about, since YouTube has this 10-minute limit on the videos. Good response so far. We'll keep doing it for now, and we'll see how that goes. And, of course, our regular website, midweekpolitics.com. Let me mention for our local audience here in Massachusetts, the Northampton mayoral debate, October 13th, 2009 at the Northampton High School. I'll be moderating. We'll have a panel of panelists, I guess, a group of panelists who will be asking questions, and whoever wins, whichever two candidates are left after the September primary here, will be there. And it's sponsored by Harold's Ice Cream, as well as the League of Women's Voters Northampton area. Lewis, you want to talk about being waterboarded? We had this thing where we were going to... I had suggested that we should set up a waterboarding of Lewis, and Lewis kind of agreed. It's not clear whether Lewis agreed or not, but for all intents and purposes, we were looking into it. And I was told by a bunch of people, including lawyers and people involved with the station's insurance, that we shouldn't do this, even if it's outside in the parking lot. But it turns out that before you went on your last trip, you were at a party, and it was apparently there was waterboarding at the party. Explain this to me. I don't know.
Well, I have a group of what you might call somewhat masochistic friends.
Okay.
And this was the second party they've had in which waterboarding had taken place.
Okay.
So
what else goes on other than the waterboarding?
Well, you know, it's a party. You know, people were drinking some beers and just sitting around, you know, talking about movies.
Okay.
Talking about stuff like that.
And then at some point there's waterboarding.
And then all of a sudden there's waterboarding.
Okay.
So, you know, for research purposes.
Only for research purposes.
Right. I'd only had 1 or 2 beers that night.
Right.
So, for research purposes, I decided to, you know, in a controlled environment, obviously.
Indoor or outdoor?
Outdoors.
Waterboarding, which my senior military sources tell me you wake up feeling fine the next day.
Okay, so I got waterboarded.
Okay, so they have a table set up, or how does this work?
Right. It was like a desk that happened to be outside that they propped one end up, you know.
Just on the grass.
On the grass.
So
propped one end of it up, so you're lying, you know, at an angle.
And your feet are higher up.
Your feet are higher up.
Give us, just for our Midweek Politics TV audience, what angle is this? Like, how high, you know, is it? How steep is this incline?
You know what? I want to say, it wasn't very steep.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, maybe 20 degrees more than, you know, your 180
flat.
there.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, and they put a shirt over my head.
Was the shirt wet?
Yes.
The shirt was wet, so it's kind of like heavy and whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and they took it one step further. They stretch it over your head.
Oh.
Cover your whole head.
Even your eyes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then, you know, they count down for you because, you know, if you get caught off guard breathing in.
Well, that's part of it, right? That's
part of it. You
Yeah.
know, if it weren't in a controlled environment where I knew when they were starting and when I could tell them to stop. You could easily get a mouthful or a nose full of water while inhaling.
Okay.
You know, and since you're at an angle, water's going in your nose anyway.
Right.
You have to try and keep water out of your nose, and try
Kind of
and-
like you would if you were like swimming underwater type of thing.
Right, except try being upside down, you know.
Right.
So the pressure is forcing the water in.
Yeah, right.
And
Wow.
and you have to try and breathe, obviously.
So this was a controlled environment. You knew when they were going to start. You knew you could tell them to stop any time. How bad was it?
Well, water was going up my nose. It gets all into your sinuses and everything.
Yeah.
I definitely inhaled a little bit of it while trying to breathe,
Right.
even though the water's getting poured on you.
So do you basically have to hold your breath
Yes.
the entire time because otherwise you'll breathe in water?
The best strategy is to just try and hold your breath for as long as possible.
And if it goes longer than, you know, however long people can reasonably hold their breath, you do get water in your lungs.
Probably.
How long did you go with this?
I don't know. We weren't really counting.
But it wasn't very long, I imagine. I mean, are we talking 10 seconds, 8 seconds?
20, 30 seconds.
That's pretty long. I'm surprised even. I mean, that's kind of. And you were holding your breath the whole time.
Almost the whole time.
Right. So if the situation had been any different, if it had not been a controlled environment, I mean, this would have been a horrible situation.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're at more of an angle. I mean, there's nothing you can do to prevent that water from going up your nose and going wherever else. And I imagine, you know, in a torture scenario, this water would be pouring for a lot longer than the little pitcher we had with us.
And in many cases, that shirt would actually be in your mouth, and you would almost be gagged with it, as far as I've seen and read in many cases, too, which would make it even worse. Okay, well, Lewis has been waterboarded, and we'll keep an eye on the situation and see if it happens again, and if it happens in less friendly territory, which I assume would be not as good of a situation for sure.